Boy, what a funny, clever, and interesting intro. Aren't I the best? What's going on, you guys? My name is Matt, and I talk about Air Pokemon cards. It's Small Business Saturday was recently. How about Small YouTube Sunday? How about that? Let's get a subscribe here, let's get a like, and let's get right into this week's video. Kicking things off, we have a first edition Ivy Pikachu. Now, the error here is that first edition stamp should not be there. This was said to be in about 1 in 10 jungle booster boxes, and when you think about the fact that not all of the cards came from just jungle booster boxes, it kind of shows you how rare this card actually is, and that is absolutely reflected in the price. You can see $175 raw for this Pokemon card. Now, one thing that is interesting, this card's in very good shape, and you can see this was listed in auction and only had one bidder, and that bidder got it for $175. That's a lot of money, but if you look at error price for this, you can see $300 is the average error price. It might be skewed a little bit, but I think this card definitely has a chance to be in the grade 7 and above, so you can see the price can go up a lot if you get this graded. So I think this was a great steal for the purchaser this week. And average non-error price for this without the first edition stamp is $6.26. So that gives us a 2,696% error value increase. And that's good enough for number 7 this week. Please do let me know in the comments if you like that intro. I just want to keep switching things up, having fun with it, and putting out the best content possible. Next up, we have a repeating error. Here we have a base set Clefairy with the black dot error. Right in smack dab in the middle of the center of the card, we have a black dot covering up the N in the O and in now. And this is a repeating error. Can't find average error price for this. But yes, always a very cool one to see. One of the more larger ink dots you'll see for a repeating error from the Wizards of the Coast era. And you can see this one sold in auction this week, $103.50. And with the EVI of 690%, that's actually good enough for number 10 this week. If you do not know, I have these cards in a random order, so we will never know what will come next in the top 10, if it says in the top 10 or not. I think it's fun to have it be sporadic and spontaneous. And yes, let's get right on to the next one. So here we have a Dark Persian promo card, and this is the no HP error. This is another repeating error, and one that always sells for a good amount. So this one got graded PSA 7 and sold for $175. I don't know if I talked about this already. I think I did. No HP error, meaning 60 HP is missing in the top right of the card. These are pretty rare, but you see them probably, I see them pop up maybe once or twice a week. So that kind of gives you a gauge on how rare this actually is. And yeah, average non-error price is around $35. So this goes for, or this gives us a 400% EVI. Next up, we have a Magneton, and this is from Forbidden Light. This is a 2018 set, and you can see this is a pretty severe miscut. I gotta say, these are always my favorite types of miscuts, where right and left is not really shifted too much. It's just up and down, so it's just like perfectly another card on top, and then about 90% of Magneton. I think that is just the coolest. I would love to have an error like this at some point. And this one would have been doable for me to buy. $60 for this. I feel like that's a good deal for both. I don't know, it's kind of weird to say, but I feel like with this, it could have sold for more, but also this isn't really a big chase card, and 2018 is not vintage enough for it to be real crazy. So I think it's a very cool card, and you see a couple alignment dots there in the top right and top left, none on the back though. And Yeah, so I think it was a good price for a sale and also a good price to pick up because, you know, some people might be just huge Magneton fans, and to get this crazy miscut for $60 is a good deal. So, awesome card. I believe this is actually number 11 this week, so not in the top 10, but a cool card to talk about, and I know some people out there really do like miscuts like this. Next up, we have a card I have never seen before, at least for the error. So this is a Zorark. If I said that wrong, I apologize. And this was a repeating error, supposedly. So the seller put this in the description, and this card details is actually listed on Bulbapedia, which is what I used for my repeating error info that I need to look up. And essentially what it is, you can see in stage 1 there, there's a little bit of silver graphic on the bottom left of the circle there, in the top left of the card. And this was something that was corrected later, but there are some error versions out there. Supposedly this is supposed to be for cards that have a stage 2 Pokemon up there, and you can see the non-error card does not have that little silver part there. And just due to the fact of that being there, this card sold for about $80 more than the non-error card. So not a crazy high EVI, but it's always cool to put it in terms like that where yeah, this added $80 of value, which I think is pretty cool. So yes, repeating error, one I had not seen before, but I believe actually 2 sold this week. It might have been from the same seller, but yeah, as you know, I always like to show new error cards when I find them. You all might already know that, but I don't, so I always just like to take you along for the ride and show you what I'm finding here. Next up, we have a base set Gyarados. This got graded a CGC 8, and this is an additional ink error. Now, on first glance, this might be kind of hard to tell. I always feel like the holofoil for Gyarados is always a little bit unique and sometimes kind of hard to see different things in there, but the additional ink is actually on the left side there. So you can see it's a little bit lighter. I believe this would be an additional white ink error. And I don't think it's a repeating error. You see I put no question mark, but it might be. I know there are definitely other cards from base set that have this additional ink error kind of on the left side of the holofoil. So one could surmise that this would be from the same uncut sheet maybe, and maybe, you know, obviously printed at the same time for when these errors occurred. But yes, a very cool one. This one did not sell for a lot though. Which is, so I guess the error or the mistake made was probably listing it for too low. So this was not auction. This was just listed as a set price, and the seller listed it for $50. And so you can see the error value increase is actually a negative 9%. So not an increase, but a decrease. And yeah, a very nice card for someone to have. You know, even just a standard CGC 8 base set Gyarados for $50 is a good deal. Yeah, cool card. Didn't sell for a lot, but fun to talk about. That's what we're here for, right? All right, next up we have another Ivy Pikachu. Now here is an example. I didn't really talk about this too much, so no, I did a little bit. So Ivy Pikachu always sells for a lot. You can see the condition of the last card I talked about, the first card, was very, very good. It sold for $175. Now here we have a more experienced seller, and they listed it for $170 due to the condition of the card. You can see the front looks okay. We got some creases and folds. The back kind of shows a little bit more of the wear and tear of the card, and this sold for $170. So $5 less, but in absolute worse condition. So that just shows how much more value the first seller could have gotten if they would have done it right. I know sometimes it's hard. I'm actually experiencing this right now. I have a PSA 8 Red Diamond Squirtle that I'm hoping to flip. I got it for a very cheap price. The seller did not know it was an error, and I have it listed for best accepted offer price, and just no activity right now. So I'm hoping to get a quicker flip. So sometimes I understand why people list things for less than they're worth, just because maybe you want to get rid of the card quicker. So I completely sympathize with that, but it's just interesting to talk about. So maybe there's another YouTuber out there that talks about this exact same thing, and when I sell that Squirtle for less than it's worth, they're going to be talking about me like I talk about other people. Kind of interesting, maybe. I don't know. If there is another YouTuber out there that's doing this, please let me know. I would love to talk to them. I have a lot to say. So yeah, all that aside, you can see this card had an air value increase of 2,619%, and that's good enough for number 8 this week. Hey, look, another one. Now here's an interesting example. So I always say when a card gets a higher grade, when it goes up the grading scale, the EVI typically goes down. Now that is not the case here because I believe this card sold for what it's worth, if not a little bit higher. Not higher, no, this card sold for what it's worth. So you can see we have a PSA 8 first edition IV Pikachu, and the EVI is higher than the other two, which were raw cards. So typically, again, raw, you'll see the highest EVI, and then the higher the grade goes up, the lower the EVI goes, but not this one. So average non-era price for this standard IV Pikachu is $20, and so that gives us a 3,202% EVI, which is good enough for number 3 this week. Look at that. Alright, one thing I find interesting about error cards is just how consistent things can be sometimes. So here we have a Shining Magikarp, which is a double holo variant. This happened in the Neo Revelation set, basically where the holo is doubled up on the card. And the part I find interesting is for these standard edition, not first edition, the error value increase is 95% of the time between, I'd say, 60 and 200%. You never see it kind of go out of that range. It's interesting how the market can be that consistent for things. Just people know what things are worth. They do their research and everything. Sometimes there's an outlier, but not typically. And so with this, you can see sold for $800, so a lot of freaking money. But yeah, the EVI is 76%, which is just right in the middle of that that threshold. So very interesting. And the first thing I did for the first time, I've called this a repeating error. I'm not sure if that's right or not. Again, it's a variant, but typically I like to have the repeating errors be like the exact same, like with the black dot. It's in the same spot every single time. The double holo, it has the same characteristics, but you know, the holo can be in different areas. So that's where I'm always kind of debating whether I should call it repeating error or not. And for some reason, I decided to call it that. I decided to call it that this week. So there you go. That's not interesting at all, but you guys are tuning in anyway, so I appreciate it. All right, next up we have a base set Vulpix, and I feel like the base set Vulpix is one of the cards that if you're ever just scrolling eBay, always look at them, because I feel like there's so many different errors for it. You have the blue butt error, you have the there's the poo stain error, which is a printer hickey in the bottom right of the art box there. You have the low ink error under the weakness water symbol, and now you have just this really unique printer hickey that is right under Fox Pokemon, kind of in the middle of the card. I just feel like it's a very error-prone card, and obviously there's the HP 50, which people call an error, but is not really. So you could look for the corrected version, which is another thing. So all that to say, always keep really give this a good look up and down whenever you see a Vulpix on eBay or just anywhere, because there could be a cool error there. Now, I'm pretty sure this is not a repeating error, but what a very interesting one is that you got a light pink hollow circle there on the card here. Printer hickeys can come in all shapes and sizes, and I think these ones are always kind of the more interesting ones. I think this one just got in the way of one of the coloring process, and so it removed an ink and it gives it this light pink look then. It is sold for a lot. $40 for a base set Vulpix is good. You can see average non-era price is $1.25, so 3,100% EVI, and that's good enough for number 4 this week. Here we have a first edition Gengar from Fossil set, and this is an additional ink error. I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I should have told you to look for the error as I was counting. It's in Gengar's name at the top of the card there. There's a yellow streak that's going down through there. So this is severe enough of an error where CGC will constitute it as additional ink error. And you can see this did not sell for as much as it probably should have. Sold in auction, so no surprise there that it's lower. But yeah, sold for 175. You can see average non-error price. Always kind of hard to tell for a in between grade, so 7.5. So I just kind of split the difference. So typically it goes for around maybe 200 for non-error card, and so yeah, it didn't sell for as much as I think it should have. But again, sometimes the error market can be tricky. Also, am I noticing? Is there a little bit of a line on Gengar there as well? Could that also be part of the additional ink? Or is that just a scratch? I feel like this wouldn't be a 7.5 if that was a scratch. Interesting, just noticing that right now. But yeah, so negative 12 error value decrease for this card. Next up, we have an absolute classic and staple in the error community. Here we have a first edition Butterfree with the D error. Printer Hickey was placed on the first edition symbol and made it look like a D instead of a 1. And this got graded a Gem Mint 10. Ooh, that is pretty. And this one sold in auction for $273.88. And this is where I kind of get kicked in the teeth a little bit. Not really, but metaphorically, where I'm just always saying, don't sell in auction. It's not going to sell as much. Well, this one did. This one sold for higher than the average error price of $265 for a typical D error PSA 10 Jungle Butterfree. So good for the seller. They went with the consignment shop here, and yeah, sold for higher than the average price. EVI is 75%. You'll never see this really too high. All right, next up we have a CGC 7.5 base set Blastoise with the no stage error. This one, the stage word is smudged out in the top right of the card, repeating error, and never really goes for that much, really. You know, it can add some value. I would say typically you won't ever see it add more than 100% value to the card. And this one is just like, it shows how variable auctions can be. So this one was sold by the exact same consignment shop, and this one sold for $81. Now let's take a look at the non-error price chart that I have there. You can see a 7.5 should go for around $160-ish, you know. Let's say even we go for the grade 7, $125. This still sold for way less than that. So, yeah, a heck of a deal for someone who purchased this card. I think all of the repeating Blastoise errors are so cool. Would love to have them sometime. And yeah, I don't think that's this is kind of an indicator for, again, how variable that auctions can be. So error value decrease of 50%. Here's one that I typically don't like to talk about. So this is always interesting. You'll see these Koro Japanese promo Shining Mew cards pop up a lot, and it seems like they're always just miscut. I feel like 90% of the cards I see, just scrolling through, they're always just off center. And it's like, it's not that interesting to me. It's not severe enough of a miscut. But with this, what the error is, this is actually an incomplete hollow. So you can see on the non-error card, there's hollow going all the way through the card. I really do think this is one of the prettier cards produced by Pokemon. It's mesmerizing. I like it. But you can see here on the right, the hollow is not going all the way through the card. So it's a unintentional non-hollow bleed, which is something you don't see too often. And pricing for this, so I knew it wouldn't be in the top 10, and so I just kind of compared it to like a grade 7, because this is just an authentic card, not actually a graded card, and there is no pricing information for authentic cards. So I said, throw it at a grade 7, which actually, so grade 8. I put grade 7, should be grade 8. Either way, maybe $300. I don't know. If this were to get graded, it looks like it's in great shape. I feel like someone should get this graded. Yeah, so sold for a lot of money. $1,025 is a lot, but yeah, not a crazy high EVI, but an interesting one I don't think I've talked about before. So yeah, there's another one for you. Here's one we can all agree we love. Here we have a base set Hitmonchan with a pretty severe miscut, I would say, especially for Wizards of the Coast era. We see an alignment dot in the bottom left corner. Card's not in the best shape, but with a miscut as crazy as this, who cares? Left border is very, very thick. If we were to compare the right border and the left border, I'd say the left border takes up about 95% of that, and then you just got the thinnest little sliver of yellow there on the right of the card. Very unique, very cool, and you can see sold for $760 this week. And this is actually good enough for number 9 with 724% EVI. So we got some crazy cards at the top that I haven't talked about yet, but also some of the bottom ones are not that crazy for an EVI. A little bit of everything. Alright, next up we have a basic energy card. It does not say where this is from or what set, but 2023, so you can surmise that yourself. And this is a skewed miscut, or a wonky miscut, basically where it's twisted. I think these are definitely one of the more unique miscuts you can see, and always kind of a new unique spin put on each card that is there. It's cool to see bottom left of the card there, where it's like, that's where the other card should be. I don't know. It's yeah, these are always very unique and very cool to see, and sell for a good amount usually. So $33.77 for a modern energy card is pretty darn good. And that's actually reflected in the EVI too. So average non-error price, you can see we have pricing for a ungraded card and then a grade 9.5. And that's all we have, but that's all we need. And yeah, that gives us an EVI of 3,277%, which is actually good enough for number 2 this week. So basic energy card at number 2. That's why I love error cards. You never know what you're going to find. All right, so I believe this is the time where I have my friend Sam do the segment that we call Sam Finds the Error. So Sam is a friend of mine. He's pretty familiar with Pokemon. Not too familiar with error cards, and I always find it to be fun to have him try to find the error. So why don't you take it away, Sam, and we'll see how you do.
Hi Matt, thanks so much for having me on. I'm excited this week to look at the error card. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm looking forward to it. It's been a few weeks, and so it'll be an exciting change of pace to figure this one out. Alright, it looks like this week is a Blastoise. So let's see what we can find here. Alright, that's a Wartortle. That's a Blastoise. Nothing is jumping out to me. The card looks real thick, but I don't think that that's the issue. Alright. Put Blastoise on a stage 1 card, 100 HP, evolves Wartortle. That looks like Wartortle. The centering looks fine. The whole image is a little skewed, but Matt, thanks so much for having me on. Everybody that followed along at home, I hope that you found it so much sooner than I did, and or were just able to find it because maybe I didn't find it at all. Thanks so much for having me on again, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.
Alright, I have not watched Sam's thing yet, the video, but I have heard that it took him a little bit longer, so we'll see how I made that interesting. But yes, thank you, Sam, for doing that. Actually, I'm pretty sure that he didn't find the error. So I hung out with him yesterday, and he told me he was not able to find it, so since Sam was no help, appreciate you, buddy. The error here is it's the illustrator error, or the no illustrator error. So at the bottom left of the card, you can see there is no ILLUS period. That is smudged out, and this is a repeating error. So base set Blastoise has a couple of repeating errors. We have the stage error, the illustrator error, and the red dot error. And I believe this is the rarest of them. And you might be thinking, well, hey Matt, if this is the rarest, why did it sell for so little? 69, nice. 96, nice. It sold for so little because it is in bad shape. Look at the top of the card, or the back of the card, and the front of the card, just not in good shape. You know, if this was a non-error card, maybe 15, 20 bucks, like at best for it selling, but since it's the illustrator error, sold for more. But typically, and this might pop up later in the episode, this card sells for a lot more. And again, the most expensive repeating error for Blastoise, except for maybe the Mirror Hollow, but I don't call that a repeating error. So yeah, error value decrease of 13% here. Next up, we have a cool one. So if you don't know, Venusaur is my favorite Pokemon. I think and this card is just awesome. I love the base set Venusaur, and always love to see errors on them, and this is one of the cooler ones. So this is a water obstruction error. So I think how this works is it removed a different layer, which kind of lets some of the hollow kind of shine through, I believe. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, because I'm wrong a lot. But either way, you can see this is like a hollowy little pattern here. That looks like it was spilled, and it's a very cool error. Boy, I'm butchering talking about this, even though this is my favorite card. Yeah, it's a very unique error, and I've seen other ones like this before where, you know, in different patterns. So it definitely happened in the Wizards of the Coast era where a spill might occur. Obviously not too much, because you can see just by the value of this, $750. It's a lot of money. It kind of shows how rare this error actually is. And yeah, not much more to say about it. Repeating error, no, because I don't think this would happen in the exact same spot for the same cards. But again, I've seen it on different hollows for Wizards of the Coast cards before. So a very unique one. Venusaur, I apologize, I butchered talking about this so much. But yeah, error value increase of 436%. Next up, here's one I always got my peepers on when I'm looking on eBay. This is a Dark Arbok with the hollow shift error. You can see the hollow foil is shifted to the left a decent amount. I would say this is the minimum of what you need for a hollow shift to be actually like actually recognized from a grading company, and also like to significantly add to the value. You'll find some with like micro shifts where it's like a couple millimeters. Those are cool, you know, I always love to see those, but I don't think they add that much value, and they don't really make them that much of a chase card. But when you have one like this, especially the Dark Arbok, because it is a repeating error, I think this is one of the more unique ones. And look above me, this card is not in good shape. And so for it to sell for $200 is pretty incredible. So I don't know, this isn't popped up too often. I know some people who have gotten this when it wasn't listed as an error, you know, for a steal price, but whenever you see it selling, it sells for a lot. So I'd be curious to see what this goes for as a graded card. Obviously not this card, because this would be like a PSA like 3 maybe at best, just with how crappy it is condition wise. But despite the condition, EVI of 2,743%. And that's actually good enough for number 6 this week. Yes, love a hollow shift, love repeating errors. When you combine them together, you get something magical. So next up we have a Flareon from Jungle Set, and this is the no symbol error, and this got graded a PSA 10. Now these ones are always fun to see because obviously PSA 10s are hard to come by, especially for these no symbol errors, and it seems like they're always in a category of their own. They're always kind of, I've seen quite a few where when they get sold, sometimes it's just way higher than the other prices for it before. So these are the ones that you see take the biggest leaps. So you can see average error price for this. For PSA 10, $740. This one sold for $1,500, so that's an incredible leap, over double the price of the last one sold. I know sometimes price charting is behind the times for this, but it's very cool to see the big jumps. I've seen some before. I believe like it's the the Jungle Snorlax will have the price was like tripled from what it was sold before, because again, sometimes the population is just so low for these. It's hard to set a precedent for what the price actually is or supposed to be. So yes, a very cool one. I know no symbols are kind of prevalent out there, but when you get to talk about PSA 10s, especially ones selling for this much, that's always fun. All right, next up, I want to dive into something a little bit deeper here. So this week I saw a video from ShortPocketMonster, who, if you don't know, does a fantastic job of opening up Pokemon cards. He does the best job I've seen of making opening up a pack of Pokemon cards very exciting and unique and just really entertaining for the viewer. And he opened one this week from Topps, and there was some crazy errors in there that I actually made a video on where I was reacting to it, but it was only 15 seconds. I couldn't really deep dive into it too much, and so I want to kind of go into that a little bit more and break this down. So I'm going to play the video here. I'll be pausing and showing just some of the different things here.
We could have some problems with this one. Should I open it or should I keep it sealed?
Topps Chrome Series 1 for $3.99. Well, that's the sticker price. I paid
$450, crazy.
in the year 2000. But hey, look who it is!
Okay, here's what I want to talk about. So this card has an error shift. You can see with all of these Topps Chrome cards, there's supposed to be like an outline here that kind of gives it just a little more unique look, kind of helps it stand out. But what happened here was the texture layer got shifted. Looks like up slightly and then to the right. And so you can see this is shifted for all of it. So we have this should be right here. The outline of Pikachu should obviously be behind Pikachu. And you can see here and here are both shifted up and to the right. And he did not notice it. I don't blame him. He's got enough going on, especially when you're trying to put out a video that you know is going to be viewed by millions of people. It's hard to catch, but this is what I do for a living. Not really, but I like making videos on it. And so let's just, take a look at it. So he said this was listed for $40. So the best way to tell about value for this is to look at the sold listing. So here we have a Starmie 121 from Topps Chrome, and this is a misaligned texture shift. And this is the only one we've seen sold in the last couple months. And this one sold for $250. And now we're going to take what that card should typically sell for with non-error version. $1,564. Holy cow. Okay. So basically the EVI for this card would be 1,500%, meaning it's about 15 times more valuable with the texture shift than without. And so let's say we times each of these cards that he has here by 15. So if he said this was worth $40, this Pikachu could actually be worth $600. Now this, the math might be off a little bit here, but this just gives you an idea of how valuable this is. So let's keep watching. Looks like the cards are actually sticking together.
Yeah, the cards stick. Oh. Together. That's not good.
I wonder if the texture shift had anything to do with that.
We have Persian. Not bad.
Okay, so Persian here too. You can see we have the texture shift here, same as the Pikachu. You can see shifted all the same way, so it must be from the same sheet.
Not bad.
And we have $19 times 15, $285.
These are recently sold prices on eBay for each of these, by the way. 5 cards total.
So this one, harder to tell, but you can definitely see here, this one's shifted as well. So a Nidoqueen usually sells for $6, $90. Again, shifted here.
Here, card number 3 is a Nidoqueen. Card 4,
Another shift. This is just incredible. So you can see shifted the exact same way. Let's see what this sold for. $10. So that would be $150.
For a 5th and final card.
Okay, now this is incredible just by itself.
Good thing you didn't quit.
So 300. So obviously this is harder, to gauge the value of it. Obviously this is not a texture shift, but if this were, and we were going off this exact same formula, $4,500. So, not the case at all, but definitely if it was shifted, it could be, but either way. So he has the total here for what he made back, $375. I can't do the math right now, but I will do it in editing. Here's what the actual total is. So, Short Pocket Monster, if you are watching, I really hope you are. If you're watching this video, or someone else is, send it to him, please, because I'd love to just let him know what these cards are actually worth. But these are worth a lot more than you think they are. Congrats. Keep up the great work. And you best believe I'm putting this in the thumbnail. So let's get back to the rest of the video. So next up we have my favorite double hollow variant. This is a Miss Drevis. This got graded a PSA 7. And the reason it's my favorite is because the way you can tell this is a double hollow is the hollow goes through the eyes. I don't know how the printing process was for Miss Drevis here with how the different layers got stacked up, but whatever it was, when that double hollow got added, it went over like 50% of the eyes of Miss Drevis, and I think that is just the most unique and cool looking double hollow there is out there. So this one, not a groundbreaking, well actually, boy. So I said about 95% of them usually go for the EVI is usually nothing too crazy. Oh, and I actually messed it up. Okay. So Math. So this would be maybe around 200%, maybe a little bit less for EVI or a little bit higher. You can see sale price, I kind of messed it up. It should be 110, not 158. But yeah, EVI would kind of be on the higher side. And I wonder if that is because Ms. Drevis is the coolest double hollow variant. So maybe this does go for a little bit higher for the EVI for the standard edition double hollow variant. I don't know. My mistake for the mess ups. If you see any other ones I messed up, let me know. I always like to know that to see where I should put more focus on for next episodes, just to make sure this doesn't happen again. But yes, this is a very cool and unique card. Next up, we have a Dark Dragonite with the non-hollow error. What happened here is the non-hollow version of this card, the set number should be 2282, but it got 582, which is reserved for the hollow typically. So this is a repeating error because it happened on several sheets of this card, and is always very cool to see, and it always sells for a lot. So you can see this one was listed for 300, sold for 255. And one thing that I don't like, price charting has the repeating error price for the first edition of this card, but they don't have standard edition. I think there's enough sales out there where they could kind of collect the data, but I think this sale price is about right. And I know when this gets graded, if it's in good condition, the price goes up quite a bit. So I think this is a good buy from the buyer because, again, I think like PSA 7 is $400-500 at least. So you can think of just this as an investment. This is a good deal. And yeah, with the average non-error price of around $9, that gives us a 2,749% EVI, which is good enough for number 5 this week. So here's the next card I was talking about. Here we have the No Illustrator Blastoise, and this one's in good condition. So this is what it should be selling for, and kind of the EVI you can expect. So the one thing that is always kind of good to keep in mind, you know, you have base set Blastoise, Venusaur, and Charizard. The big three, these ones are always hard to get high EVIs for just because they are more valuable cards already. And so an EVI of around 400% for this card is very solid, and it's something that should be celebrated. Not in the top 10, but yeah, very cool to see because, again, typically you're dribbling around that like 100 to 200% max typically for these cards. So yeah, cool repeating error. Hope this buyer gets this graded because this card is in great shape, and we love to see cool errors get high grades. So here's one that is not groundbreaking, but one that I don't talk about too much. So what happens here with this card, this is a first edition Red Cheeks Pikachu. So already kind of a bigger chase card. You got first edition Pikachu and the Red Cheeks. But the cool part about this is the back stamp error. Could be thought of as a tramp stamp, potentially. But what it is you can see on the back of the error card here, we have the faint outline of a first edition stamp. And essentially what happened here is, I believe the ink didn't dry all the way when they were stacking these uncut sheets together. And so this ink is actually from another card. And now that I'm thinking about this, I'm wondering if that ink right there is what actually causes the ghost stamp error. So I have one here. I'm wondering if you see the ghost stamp there where the ink kind of got removed. I'm wondering if the ink that's right here is actually on the back of that card. I just put that together now. Someone probably already knows that. Let me know, because that would be kind of a cool way to piece together some history for some of these error cards. Again, why I love this so much. I don't know what these cards typically sell for. It's always kind of hard when there's the error on the back of the card. I feel like it doesn't make it as wanted. It might, but at least in this, it's kind of showing that that's not the case. It's also kind of hard to sell some of these cards sometimes when you have the higher value cards. You want to hold out for the right buyer, but there's not as many buyers out there for the higher price cards. So all that to say, EVI is only 9%, so this didn't really add too much value. This could just be a spoof that is sold for not as much, but yeah, a very unique card. And if that is the case, where that's where the ghost stamp came from, is from this. They actually, if you look at the close-up there, right above me, you can see, so in the ghost stamp, the 1 and the D are completely missing, and then all the other ones were kind of just like sort of prevalent there. You can see here that's kind of the same, where the 1 and the D are like completely missing, and the rest is obviously not crazy like coming through, but it's there. So I don't know. Again, please someone let me know about that, because that is just such a cool piece of history. So yeah, on to the next card, actually the final card. But yeah, you saw my brain working there and kind of putting the pieces together of this. I think that's very fun. So again, this is why I love Air Pokemon cards. Who would think that just a standard Horsey from Fossil set would be the #1 card this week? So to my knowledge, this is a repeating error. What the error is, look above me, you can see it, nice and close up. You have a really cool printer hickey right behind Horsey's name, and the H and the O and the R, the Hor. Should I have said that? Probably not. So yeah, I believe this is a repeating error. This is one I'm always on the lookout for when I'm looking through cards on eBay. This is one that I could definitely see being missed by someone with an untrained eye, just someone who's listing a card that doesn't know too much. And I don't believe I've seen one sold before. And very cool to see though, because obviously it sold for a lot. $108 for a standard card like this is crazy. And yes, so you see in the description here, I say I'm like 95% sure this is a repeating error. Someone let me know in the comments, but it did not show up on Bulbapedia. But again, just something's telling me that this is a repeating error. And yeah, not much more to say about it. It's a cool card. The card seems like it's in pretty good condition, and yeah, it's always unique to see, again, a card like this beat out. We have several base set Blastoises. We have some crazy first edition cards. We have just other ones that are really well known repeating errors. And then you have something like this that sold for $108, which is just incredible. And so with an average non-error price of $1.13, that gives us a 9,458% error value increase. And this Horsey from Fossil set is #1 this week on our list of top 10. Alrighty, thank you so much for watching. I apologize this video is on Sunday. Lots going on, but always happy to film this video. If you made it to the end here, why don't you subscribe? That would be lovely, thank you. I'm inching my way towards 1,000 subscribers, and yeah, just enjoying this YouTube journey, enjoying all of you watching me. I don't see you watching me, but YouTube tells me you're watching, so I appreciate you all. Take care, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.